And we are back with chapter 131 of the Chosen Baseball Journey with Kareem Garcia, Jonathan A. Cohen, back again this week. And Kareem, we have spent this season making our predictions, making the lists, checking it twice. I have started the season saying it's going to be the Phillies, and I'm continuing to go with the Phillies. But before we get to the playoff predictions for 2024, because we have all the people with their fantasy teams and people in Vegas right now ready to make their big lines, which we're not telling you to do that. But if you want to, go ahead. It's up to you. We have a reader that contacted us in and wanted to make a correction. And I want to correct the correction. Okay. You remember we made a prediction and saying, WNBA and how big the WNBA has gotten for the NBA. And Caitlin Clark, everybody knows who Caitlin Clark is now. And we're all talking about it. Toronto's getting an expansion team and they're all a buzz about it. And ticket prices and endorsements, da da da. So we're saying, considering where the WNBA has gone with this, I wonder where the MLB is going to go. And are they going to make a WMLB and will be a baseball or softball? What's going to be? Person wrote in and said, hey guys, don't think you're paying attention, but there is a women's baseball league. It's called the WPF, the Women's Professional Fast Pitch League. Huh. I didn't know that. Did you know that, Kareem?
Not at all.
Do you know why we didn't know that?
Why is that? Tell me.
Because you Google it, it takes a little while to find it. Then it says that there's 4 teams, but when you go onto the official WPF, Women's Professional Fast Pitch League, it's a softball league, and there's only 2 teams that are listed, and it says that they are working diligently to keep the league going, and expansion teams available now, and please contact us as soon as possible.
Hey, who could be honors?
It's if you really want to go broke, that may be a really good way. It's funny though, because I think besides being a baseball fan, I'm somewhat of a wrestling aficionado.
Mhm.
And I'm watching WWE the other day and Jade Cargill. And why I'm telling you this, Jade Cargill, strong woman, came from over from AEW and former tag team champ. And actually, she just won it again with Bianca Belair. But watching an interview, and Jade Cargill is married to a famous baseball player. You remember a guy by the name of Brandon Phillips?
Yes. He
Brandon
played
Phillips
with the Cleveland Indians.
and the Cincinnati Reds. The man
That's
is the king of Ohio. I will tell you, Brandon Phillips' wife is jacked. She has not a 6 pack, she's got a 10 pack. She is the most jacked woman I've ever seen. She is Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Olympia in woman form. Ultra impressive. Kareem, she could take me on one hand, you on the other, and bench press both of us. Okay. But why am I telling you this? Because following wrestling, I found out that she is married to Brandon Phillips and that they are investors or own the league of this WPF. So Brandon Phillips is hard at work with Jade Cargill to get the women's professional league going. I applaud them profusely, but let's talk serious now. The only way I think a professional league is going to get the real credit is it becomes the WMLB. What's your thoughts?
Yes, you don't have to get a big company like Major League Baseball to back you up, to put some money over there to give you all the exposure that you need to get for people to actually start getting into it. I know that he's doing he's trying to do something good over there. VP, that's what we call him, Brandon Phillips. But I mean, it takes a lot of money, a lot of effort, and if you don't have anybody to backing you up, like you mentioned, you're just gonna go broke.
Listen, I can tell you, Caitlin Clark, Yada Tarasso, Sue Bird. There, I've just named 3 off the top of my head. Professional female baseball players. Jenny Finch. You got any others?
Fernandez, I think. Gary Fernandez.
Alex's sister?
There's I don't know.
And this is not at
It's the so
all,
there.
but it goes to show you like that's how big the WNBA is. If you and I, we walk into any sports bar in the United States and we say, name us a professional women's basketball player, they're going to name us three or five right off the top of their heads, right? Pretty much.
Absolutely.
That's what the women's game needs in baseball. But WPF is a softball league. Kareem, I'm still stuck on this thing. Will a women's league survive and thrive as a softball league after we talked about it? Or do they got to go and be a traditional baseball team?
I think they could survive as a softball league, but like mentioned, it has to be a someone to backing you up over there, big companies, including MLB, to get off the ground to start. If not, it's going to be really difficult to actually accomplish something.
And this is where the WNBA is seeing it. Caitlin Clark comes into town and it's sold out. People are paying big money ticket prices on the resale market. They're buying the merchandise. When people are watching on TV and people are buying the merchandise and paying for the tickets, the companies are making money. Now, more money is getting generated for the game, and the players are going to see more money. That's the natural progression of it. And that's what we hope for all sports leagues. And I think, being a lifelong baseball fan, I would love to see WMLB. I think that'd be a very good thing. There's so many young females playing the game today and giving them and the energy because think about a talented woman, let's say that's 6'2", 6'3", whatever, and she says, "Okay, do I want to play baseball, softball? Do I want to play basketball? I want to be the next Caitlin Clark." How many women now in the United States, Canada, all over the world watch Caitlin Clark and say, "Oh, there's a real thing here," and they're actually going away from baseball, soccer, and other sports, going to basketball,
Yeah, a lot of them, thanks to them.
which is not a bad thing at all, but not everybody can be Caitlin Clark. And by the way, it's not so easy being 6'5" plus, right? So this is where we're saying, we wish the best WPF, but with only two teams right now, there's only so many times they can face off against each other. They're going to need some more teams over there before we notice them. Going to the playoff picture now, Kareem. Interesting news. One of my whipping boys, Craig Kimbrell, future Hall of Famer, great closer. I had Alvardo on my fantasy team last year with a shared team, and Kimbrell took all the saves. Baltimore takes him on a 1-year deal. I know he's had a bad second half, but getting rid of him at this point in the season, I was a little surprised. What about you?
Um, they're pressing a little bit. I think that's what's going on. I think they hit the panic button because, they were so close to the Yankees for the whole year. They were even on top of the Yankees for a while. And now all of a sudden they're 4 games behind and they're trying to catch up and they say, we'll have to blame someone. How about we blame you today and we just let you go? And that way we can actually say that, you cost us the last 4 games. That's why we are 4 games behind the Yankees.
I think though, like he's the veteran. I imagine he's the veteran presence. He's the guy who's been there, done that. He's the guy who's going to the Hall of Fame. For the young players and everything, letting the guy go on a contending team in September, you could have put him in mop up. You could have let him work it out. How did the clubhouse react to something like that generally? Like not just saying Kimbrel, but you can use Kimbrel if you'd like. But if you're
Yeah.
the young players, the Gunnar Hendersons and the Holidays of this world, and you see your veteran guy, your one of your team leaders let go in September, how's morale? Because it doesn't seem like that has invigorated Baltimore too much.
No, not at all. I think some of the guys will be a little bit upset, going and letting him go, by the Baltimore Orioles, because like you mentioned, he's someone that you look up in the locker room, and when you're in the bullpen, those young guys are always sitting with him and asking him questions how to get through the game or where to spec. So Baltimore should have kept him to help those guys so that they're never been in a playoff scenario. And this is a veteran guy that actually brings a lot to the table for those young guys. So I mean, why now? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm dumbfounded as well. It's very strange, but Baltimore doesn't do things the traditional way generally, even with new ownership. So These were guys that I thought were ticketed to go very far, but we've talked about this. You play well all season. There's this thing about don't slump in September. Remember the Mets, back in I believe it was 2007, if I'm not mistaken, when they had that massive lead and they took that slump and they lost. They did not go to the playoffs. They lost it right on the last day of the season. Like there's something about a September slump. It could just suck the energy out of a team, it feels like.
I mean, that's the worst thing to pick to start losing games. Once you're getting closer to the playoffs, some of those guys, some of those teams, they are closer. They still you need one more game, two more games, and you see all the way to the end of the season to actually clinch the division. It's because they're pressing and they're pressing a lot. And right now, I think Baltimore has the wild card pretty much secure. I want to say it,
Yeah.
but I mean, I know that those guys are still pressing right now.
And that's the kind of thing where they could make it to the playoffs, but if you're not going with a lot of confidence, in a very short series, you could be gone instantly. And a team that has a lot of confidence right now, and they're doing it with smoke, mirrors, and band-aids and openers, it is the Tigers. They got a two-man rotation and a bunch of openers, and everything seems to be clicking. They don't have a ton of hitting, but great defense. And every pitcher seems to be lights out right now. Can they work this into the playoffs, or has this been a nice run, but the Tigers ain't gonna last?
They got 9 games left. All right. So they got to go 9-0 to actually have an opportunity in Kansas City losing a couple games. Anything can happen. I seen Colorado win like 16, 17 games in a row to make the playoff. Oakland won 20 or 21 games, set the major league record to make the playoff. So the Tigers are not that far behind right now. I mean, there's only 9 games left. If you're able to win 7 of those 9, you're zeroing pretty good. You might be able to catch a wild card chance. All depends on how Kansas City doing and how much pressure they feel.
But let's say Kansas City, they secure it, they got enough going. We still see the Guardians in there, and it's gonna come down to probably the Twins or the Tigers. We may have three of the Central teams making it to the playoffs. I never saw that coming this year.
No, not at all. Me neither. I thought that the Tigers were gonna not do very well this year, but I mean they're impressing. They're doing the things the right way. They're winning the games. I mean they're gonna have the season uh, over 500, which is very good. Watching the last few years of their playing.
Well, it's look, Scooble's been incredible for them, and you know what? There's a thing about baseball compared to all the other teams is such a team sport that 25 guys are clicking and everybody's good with their role and everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, and you do those little things and bring bunt runners over, bring runners over, sacrifice, come in and get an out, like everything seems to be working. I'm excited. I hope the Tigers do make the playoffs. The Twins have got to be sweating it right now because everybody expected them to go further than the Tigers. They got to be pressing right now.
They were expecting go higher than probably Cleveland. You know,
Yeah.
fighting the Cleveland Indians to on the first place, clinching the division, and now all of a sudden are they're tied with the Tigers. See what happens. You got only 9 games left. I don't know if they're facing each other right now. They're facing their division right now in the last few games, but it will be interesting to see what happens.
I mean, the Rangers were my pick to make it back to the World Series. That's obviously not happening. The Jays were your pick. That ain't happening. At the deadline, I thought the Mariners did enough. I thought they were going to click. I thought that they got enough little pieces there, but not to be for them this year. We got to remember that there's still a lot of teams out there, even with the amount, 6 teams making it to the playoffs, but not everybody's going to make it at the end of the day. It's going to be interesting playoff season going now at this point as we're looking towards the postseason. Your pick to make it to the World Series from the American League? Still the Yanks?
The way that they're doing things right now, and if Soto comes back and their pitching is healthy, they have a great possibility making it to the World Series again. But I think they're gonna have Houston has been there before. They know how to play playoff. Those guys, they always find a way to get to the World Series. So I couldn't count out the Houston Astros right now. and probably surprised, like I say, if Kansas City gets, the wild card, they might be a surprise team, like I told you the last a few episodes. I know it's difficult. I mean, it's just a long shot. It's just one of those, 100 to 1 to get there. But I mean, you never know.
You
They
never
already
know.
did it in 2015.
And you know what? The way they've been playing and everything, and I picked up Jason Foley, their closer on the Tigers, and I've been watching their bullpen. The Tigers, you know what? They got enough magic going. If they've gotten hot at the right time, they may be able to at least win one series. It should be interesting, but I think they are going to make the playoffs. So I'm definitely going to say Juan Soto's healthy. Yanks, that's where I'm seeing it right now. I like the Astros. I like what the Guardians have been doing, but it's the Yanks are just too much right now. The Orioles, I think the Orioles just need to go back and watch footage from the beginning of the year, see all the things they did which made them successful and just go back to their roots, so to speak, because they have so much talent on that team. If everybody was hitting as far as, from pitching and hitting and defense point of view, as far as the stacked numbers, if they got hot at the same time, the Orioles could be very scary.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for the Yankees, and this is what I see that they're having a little bit of a problem, is the closer ways. They need to tie down the closer spot, because that's gonna be the biggest problem. And that happened when Chapman gave up the home run to Altuve, so the Houston Astros went to the World Series. And now, if they find themselves again in the American League Championship Series, facing those guys that already been there, done that, unfortunately, it might be the same story again.
I got the guy for you. Two words, Luke Weaver. I've been reading about him. I've been watching him. I did pick him up on the fantasy team. He's been doing exceptionally well. They don't want to name him the closer, but Clay Holmes blew another save the other day, and Weaver goes in and scoops up the win. We just have to, I think that they just have to accept the fact that Holmes is not the closer. It's not happening. He's leading the league in blown saves. He's their Kimbrel. They just need to put him in easier situations, let him work it out. But to keep putting him in safe situations when the guy is leading the league in blown saves, this is insanity. They have so many guys, these no-name guys that they put together who are all pitching exceptionally well. Luke Weaver standing at the top, Kareem Garcia, your closer, Luke Weaver, the end.
You got it. They gotta flip him. Holmes in the eighth and Weaver in the ninth. That's it.
And Weaver's been getting a lot of 2 out saves also, which is very valuable. So when a guy can get you 6 out, not too bad. Going over to the National League. So we're going to say goodbye to the Reds, the Giants, the Cards, the Cubs. Love you. Hardly knew you. The Reds never even got out of neutral in this season. It just never worked out for them with too many injuries and various stuff. Did you think there'd be a world where the Mets and the Braves were going to fight for the last playoff spot?
I would have thought the Atlanta Braves, yes, because of the pitching that they have. Unfortunately, they've been running through a lot of injuries during the year, and is still fighting their way to get to the playoff, which is that's a team that you gotta be scared of, because they've been through a lot of stuff and they still fighting to get to the last spot over there. And the New York Mets, surprisingly, they were nobody was giving a lot of credit to them, and all of a sudden, they are right there. Yeah, they're
They
hitting.
are scoring runs like there's no tomorrow. And this is what I'm going to tell you right now, Kareem Garcia. Yankees, Guardians, Astros, Orioles, Royals, Tigers, let's say. Look at the National League. We got Phillies, Dodgers, Brewers, Padres, D-backs, and probably the Mets. The National League is a heck of a lot more scary than the American League this year. And I could tell you any one of those teams now, maybe not the Mets, but even the D-backs, let's not forget they went to the World Series last year and they didn't forget about that. They brought back almost the whole crew. Um, it will not shock me if any of those 5 teams, the first 5 teams for the National League, actually make it to the World Series. Even the Brewers. Think about the Brewers. Like they played the whole year and had the crown without Devin Williams. Devin Williams has come back. I don't know if he's even given up a run this year on my fantasy team, but it's incredible when you have a stacked bullpen and you have a core veteran and just the Brewers seem to do it. Dodgers, Padres again, like it's such a shame, Kareem, that some of these teams have to be eliminated so early because the National League is stacked this year.
Yes, it is. And like you mentioned, the Dodgers are already in the playoffs. They're already clinched, which
Yep.
is pretty good. That's why I don't have to worry about it. And right now, the things they gotta, actually play their hearts out right now is San Diego and Diamondbacks. That's what I'm talking the National League West, because on the other side, the Mets gotta continue to fight to make the spot over there on the playoff. Atlanta, I don't know if I can see it. The disappointment, I think, will be the Chicago Cubs. Everybody was thinking that they were going to be making it to the playoff. Unfortunately, they fall behind too much. But the most difficult and probably the National League West is what it brings all the hit to everyone.
Those Padres, man, you look at their starters, their middle relievers, their closers, their hitters. Have you noticed that Machado, by the way, has been hitting a home run every single day, basically?
Yeah,
It's obscene what this man has been doing. It's absolutely obscene. So the Padres are in another world, man. Like if they are all going, not many teams have that stacked of a roster than the Padres, but you know what? I think it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch the playoffs at the end of the day, but I'm sticking with the Phillies all the way to the World Series.
I will have to agree with you. I like the Phillies, the whole core, the whole things that they do, the whole chemistry that they have on that team. I like that. I like that. I mean, they pick each other when they're going through rough times, which they haven't got to a rough time this year. I don't think so, but I mean, they are great players.
The only thing that makes me a little nervous, Estevez hasn't been that locked down since he showed up from the Angels, even though Steve worked his magic with him, Steve Garcia over in Los Angeles. But Alvardo's been so-so. I think their bullpen needs to get a little hotter. That's the only thing I'm going to say. Like they have great starters. Ranger Suarez has been a little bit iffy. Um, they have a few guys that seem to be a little burnt out. Hopefully, they're getting some rest. Because that's the only thing. If I have to put the Achilles heel, is if they don't rest those guys and those guys don't get hot, you have a couple starters that kind of blow up a bit. Their bullpen isn't that steady. In a short series, anything can happen. The Brewers could take them out even.
Absolutely, I mean, like you mentioned it, that they all goes to the bullpen, but these guys put up runs on the scoreboard, so the other guys have to put up some bigger runs because these guys they know how to play playoff. They've been there before. They got good power. They got good hitters, and they are going to score no matter what. And if Schwarber gets hot in the playoff like he's done it before, it's going to be even more difficult.
Robert Castellanos, Harper, all these guys. Boom.
Mhm.
Uh, it's incredible. JT Remuto, like just this lineup is just obscene. So it'll be a great playoffs. Very exciting for baseball fans. And stay tuned with that. Send in your comments, your questions for Kareem Garcia. Who do you see as your playoff picks for the MLB World Series? And who do you think is going to take it all? Kareem, will be interested to see what the fans think. And we'll be back next week with more topics as we're back into the playoffs. This is the Chosen Baseball Journey. Stay tuned.